Bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of sad call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye, win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you like us. We are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Even when you fall, sticks and stones may break your bones, but you are stronger than the heaviest waves. The earthquake won't shake you, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen, you are the truth of the land. You rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. You rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. You rise up, climb to the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you like us. You are the king, you are the queen. You will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't drown in the dust. The land of the sand one's a prize on your hand. Hold tight, don't lose your way, chasing for the glory to the end. Don't run, be the one. Bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye, win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you like us. We are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't draw in the dust. The land of the sand knows the answer in your head. Hold tight, it's worth the try, chasing for the glory in the fight. Don't run, you're the one. Bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of sad call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye, win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you like us. We are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Even when you fall, sticks and stones may break your bones, but you are stronger than the heaviest waves. The earthquake won't shake you, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen, you are the truth of the land. You rise up higher, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. You rise up higher, conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. You rise up, climb to the highest ground.
Welcome, everybody. It is another fine weekend here in Osiris League land. We have Season 5 Osiris League semifinals starting right now. We have two amazing matches for you planned today. At the 13 UTC hour, we have BG versus OneV. And then at the 15 UTC hour, Song versus JST. Just no big deal, right? It's only like four of the biggest teams in the game. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to bring all of this to you all. I'm going to be joined shortly by my bearded brother, Bulbaritos. Very, very shortly here. But before we do, let's jump into the game. I want to showcase the playoff bracket that we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks and describe a few things for you as we jump into what will ultimately be the finals. So let's go ahead and jump over to the live game really quick. We've got playoffs bracket right here in front of you. Song versus JST on the left, BG versus OneV on the right. This is, of course, the realm of Horus. 13 UTC and 15 UTC time slots for each realm of the playoffs here. For Anubis, we've got 60 GT versus WIB. And we've also got V56 versus 60 MX. For the realm of Bastet, we've got RD2K versus Raze and 06 HS versus 94 VN, the prior champions. Then finally, on Realm of Sobek, we've got 56 TA versus RR38 and NRGP versus 61 HX. We've got a lot to talk about. So first off, this is the semifinals. This means that we have elimination matches happening throughout the day. Each realm has a 13 UTC and a 15 UTC match. What this also means is that when we get to next week, it's going to be the finals. The finals have 3 rounds now. It's not a single elimination match. Got lots of fights ahead of us. Speaking of more action, let's bring in another caster. What do you think? Go ahead and bring in Bulbaritos. Again, my bearded bro. What's going on, man?
Day of my goodness, of Ark of Osiris. We got two phenomenal teams, and every single realm has a must-watch match today. So I'm very, very excited. It is an amazing day for Ark, and I hope y'all are as excited as we are to be watching, casting, and seeing some, hopefully some phenomenal play. And yeah, man, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So, let's talk about some of the things that are going into this matchup. We've got a couple things.
Okay.
We've got the fact that again, this is an elimination match. So next match is the finals, guys. If you don't win this week, you're out. Again, that's the way it's been for the last few weeks that we've been on this channel, and we've seen some amazing matches, some matches that have come down basically to the last minute or two. I mean, it's been pretty crazy. It's been pretty darn crazy. What I want to show real quick as well, I'm going to jump back into the live. We've got Eye for Talent coins. Now, again, these are your full season bets, all right? We have our weekly bets, which we got, league bets going on. Everybody's put their bets on all the different teams. We got 8 teams left in the playoffs. But your Eye for Talent coins are something that you would have likely have done at the very beginning of the season, and this requires a little bit of a Nostradamus effect. I'm not going to lie, but Realm of Horus here, we've got OneV with a huge outpouring of thinking people are going to win from the community. So OneV with 5.2 million coins on them. JST, prior champions, prior grand finals champions as well, only with 637. Bob, I'm going to bring you back. What do you think about that? Do you think that's right? I mean, my
Y-
goodness.
you know what? It's been a very interesting scenario this season where I believe the highest was at 18 million in the realm of Sobek, where DR34.
Yeah, my
And
goodness.
last week there was a lot of
Woo,
sad faces. There's a lot of sad faces.
big
I
time.
know 1V, a lot of people were super hyped on this season. Last season, they did a really good job. They had a very tough match last week. I know that we were chatting about it, about between them and Blackjack. And I don't expect anything different from this week. I really think it's going to come down to the wire. We're getting into the nitty gritty, the top of the cream of the crop, and man, I'm just excited to kind of get into this match. And the road for the both of these teams getting to the semifinals has been insane. So I'm excited to be chatting about that.
Yeah, me too. So let's talk about the match really quick as we got about 4 minutes until this match starts. I can't wait either. We've got BG, who I think this is probably the farthest they've gotten. I want to say
Mhm.
quarterfinals is usually where, and they're perennial season, Osiris League season playoff players. I think the quarterfinals is as far as they've gotten. So this is the farthest now, being the semifinals, that I believe they've gotten. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, if you guys know. But you're going up against OneV, who again has been a perennial favorite since they've come into existence. So we've got OneV, who has come up short a few times. You can see that they don't have the prior champion, eagle thing on their banner. So we've got BG, we've got OneV. BG consistently, in my opinion, and again, chat, I'd love to hear what you guys think. BG is a consistent overperformer. They perform at a top level, at a high level every single match, and are consistently underestimated. I think that's a better way to describe it. So you've got OneV, a powerhouse alliance, right? So you've got OneV with, I believe, over 5 billion power, right? We got OneV versus BG, who is a lot less power, but are consistently performing and getting to the late rounds in season after season after season, and they're growing. They're progressing. They're getting a little closer every single season. So, Bulba, my question to you is this the season that BG makes it and takes out a heavyweight of OneV, or does OneV make it to the finals and possibly face either Song or JST for the whole thing?
I definitely think that last week kind of set up a recipe for success against
Mm.
1v when you saw blackjack come
Wow,
through. And
so
a
great.
lot of these teams really do. They don't play exactly like each other, but they have very similar play styles, so it's very interesting. I was checking out BG's play history, and the fact that they have two really intense matches leading up to these, prior to this, and C9N as well as in JST. One, they lost against JST by 7K. Uh, Losing the 7K to the previous champion last season is no joke,
No
considering
shame
it
in
was in
that.
group. And no shame in that. It was in group play, and then coming out and knocking out C9N. Now that was a marquee win right there. And getting matches like that are going to be super intense leading up to that is only going to help, as well as on the side of 1V. They had those phenomenal matches as well. TR, we saw that match. It still breaks my heart, but that's when it gets down to the nitty gritty. 1021 Blackjack was the same way last week, so I'm kind of expecting the same this week.
Yeah, I hear you on that. We've got just about a minute left before this thing kicks off, and again, to clarify, 4.8 billion for 1V versus 3.6 billion for BG. So I mean, there is a power discrepancy. We've talked in the past where once you're over that 2.5 to 3 billion mark, it's really just about a few things. How many VIP 18 players do you have? Are your equipment setups proper? Are your commanders the right commanders? And then ultimately, if you do have low power, how many healing speed ups do you have? That's really going to be key. I think there's any team, especially this deep in the playoffs, there's not going to be anybody hesitating to heal if necessary to get the victory, to get the W and move on to the finals. I cannot wait to bring this to you guys. I know Bulba is itching in his seat as well. In fact, let's do it, guys. Let's jump over to the live game. We'll see you guys there. So here we go. We've got the blue team, BG, on the top, porting in. Lots of GGs on the names, or BGs on the names, excuse me. You've also got on the red team, we've got our 1V counterparts here on the bottom area. And they've got tons of heavy players as well, my goodness. Let's look at some key combatants. BG bringing in some serious contenders here. Provision score of 15,000 from that player, very strong. Kill score of 168. That's about top tier as you get. Conversely, OneV decided to bring a kill score of 326, which is obviously almost 2 times or over 2 times that. Here we go. Here's the Season 5 trophy. Both of these teams are looking forward to playing them. Again, like Bulba said, BG's only loss this season has been to Justice, JST, by 7,000 points. And that's a really solid resume. And 1V undefeated in the playoff stages of Season 5. Almost going down to blackjack last week, though. So very, very close match. Bulba, as we're waiting to let the gates unleash and these teams just absolutely pour their marches on the field, are we going to see anything special this game, or are people going to be very reserved and try and just execute strategy this match?
You know what? I think if you're on the side of 1V, it's going to be very interesting to see their break off, because we've seen their break off switch ever since the museum buffs got released. We see them traditionally, they used to come out with traditional marches, and now we're starting to see with a bunch of CCs running out of the pass in order to kind of get that field presence, that pressure really early on in the match. So I am going to be very interested. Each week we've been progressively seeing more Nevskis, more Berts, more, they're making more of an appearance on the field. So that's something I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on. I don't know if we're going to see any crazy, insane breakoffs. I know we saw a couple last week where they pushed for the obelisk in one of the matches that we casted. But you never know. I'm excited. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
So I'm glad you brought up Nevsky. We got 15 seconds left. I'll make it very quick. Nevsky has a 20% march speed bonus. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Just right off the top of my head. So, we've got a commander that not only is likely the best rally pair from a Cav perspective, part of the best rally pair, but also can be one of the best obelisk capturing marches as well, pairing up with Double C or Takeda or any of those marches, right? So we've got the match starting here. I will say something to kind of keep into account. 1V not having a king slot city on the front by the gate. I don't think it's going to be too crazy, but with BG having that slot taken, that is technically a smidge closer to those obelisks as we start the match and try and get those things captured ASAP. Of course, trying to get those obelisks as quickly as possible allows your team not only to set up a good defensive position early on, but also to start your rallies quicker. And that could, again, snowball throughout the match. So something to think about as BG takes the first building of the match, which is an outpost. Outposts are very important, Bulba. Oh my goodness.
I'm seeing so many Minas coming out on the side of 1V right now. It's actually, they're switching it up a little bit. So as we kind of expected, we do see some CCs as well, but I'm clicking and seeing so many Minas on the field. And so they are switching their strategy up a little bit. It is definitely heavy on Cav, but I am seeing a lot more Nevskis. So that is going to be very interesting. And yeah, just like you were saying, the outpost is one of probably the most slept on structures in the game. But if you're able to constantly keep those neutral or rotate them in your favor, a little points over an hour it's a huge benefit. So we're definitely going to keep our eyes on that.
Yeah, interesting that BG was able to take their farthest away obelisk first before their closest one, but then 1V is now coming into their farthest away obelisk. So that's very interesting. I'm curious with how that worked out logistically, but sure enough, all 4 obelisks are now ticking points. I did see hard push get used on the 1V side. It did not populate for BG, but it is used. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds for obelisks to be captured on all sides. You have double C rallies coming in for defense. They're going to have likely a Jadwiga YSS. Or, who knows? Maybe Jadwiga Nevsky. There's so many combinations you can use with that new commander. It's insane. So we've still got plenty of match to unfold here. But obviously right now, Bubba, what's the name of the game as we get to this phase of the match?
In this match, it's going to come down to pressure. What you can apply on your opponent, how aggressive you can be. Both of these teams are very, very aggressive. So I want to see how BG matches up with their aggression. They are naturally a very aggressive team. But I think it's just going to come down to map pressure. You know, who's going to be on their back foot, who's going to be constantly pushing, and then who's going to rotate, ultimately have the best rotations towards mid, because these mid fights are going to be absolutely insane today. And I cannot wait.
I can't wait either. So a little bit of an interesting play at the top BG obelisk. Only the T1 march was in the obelisk for just a moment, as the rally was kind of late. 20 seconds until this obelisk opens up for BG to start teleporting in. There was a 1v double C march with T1 himself sitting there tapping the obelisk, seeing if maybe it was only a 30 or 40 march or troop march. Maybe they can go ahead and snag that and delay the port in. But now it's a matter of, there's a lot of marches in and around that BG obelisk. It's going to be more difficult with it opening up right now to port in. There's so many marches all in that area. Now, I don't know if this is the way that they had planned on porting in, but this is the only two cities that could port in right now. That's a lot farther back than I would have thought for Cat Punch coming in on that top obelisk. And another thing to point out is that from a rally standpoint, 1V did send both all the normal obelisk rallies, but also did in fact rally two of the outposts. So with that being said, there is two red outposts on the BG side right now, and they will have to address that here in the coming minutes.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. While you were watching that, I was watching what they were trying to do, and they did have the rally that they let get pretty much all the way to that obelisk, and then they broke it off and just started parking their marches in an attempt to block teleport spots, or at least throw them off for a little bit. That way, you know, people are teleporting in the wrong area, or however it is, just to kind of stagger it out a little bit. So a little bit of a play. I know they definitely still poured it in. So that's, and the intensity is already pouring in with 20 seconds before the desert altars and shrines and everything is going to open up. So the fighting is already taking place. BG on the bottom side is absolutely doing a phenomenal job in respective to the top side, where 1V is pushing them out as well.
Yep, sure is. That's exactly what I'm looking at right now. I'm also looking at 6 outposts in 1V's color. So we have a little bit of an early outpost battle. BG taking all the forward, well, one of the forward altars, their own altar, and their sky altar. So getting a good start. Now, I will say, let's jump over to the forward BG, what is supposed to be 1V's desert altar on the bottom lane. Let's see if they can hold it. There is a Guan garrison right now. It did not hold. We do have a shrine, however, that is blue right now currently as well, but that also looks like it will go down. Double C garrison never does very well. And now we're going to focus on probably some defense here. We've got 1V pouring into their defensive structures, making sure they've got the proper garrisons. Speaking of proper garrisons, that's a Honda, and that goes down in favor of 1V on the Shrine of Life top side. This desert altar is still pretty contested. It sure is. 1V may actually try and get this desert altar on the top line as well, Boba.
Yeah, I'm seeing everything flip flop. Everything's getting massacred. We got about a minute before 1V traditionally starts rotating in towards middle, so you're definitely going to start seeing these marches just starting to march into the structure and get obliterated. That way they can start rotating. BG's getting cleared out on the bottom side desert altar right now, and it looks like 1V is going to secure it.
Yep, that Jadwiga garrison looking very, very strong. Just as a shout out to the chat, we had 644 votes, with 1V taking 63% of who you think is going to win this matchup. And looking at the outset of this match, I mean, they've got an extra building right now. They're trying to capture it. It's got 1 minute left and a Jadwiga in it, so this is not going to go down easily. But it does look like BG will, in fact, grab it down with 1 minute until that goes on 1V's side. I think they will eventually. BG will get those first occupation points. There it goes. Let's check the middle. Anybody coming in? I do see some red lines. I don't know if that's necessarily meaning it's going to happen very quickly, but there is some harassment from BG at the outpost area now on 1V's side, so that's something to take into account. BG Shrine of War is looking okay. It's getting swarmed a little bit with nothing but Cav. Nevsky Mina, Mina Nevsky, Nevsky William. Probably another Nevsky. Yep, there we go. There's another Nevsky. Why not add that to it? But Jadwiga holding strong there. It looks like ultimately that probably will hold, and BG is going to the middle, Bubba.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that. I'm watching right now. I'm keeping my eyes on this bottom side obelisk for 1V. Got a Pakal rally with the Jadwiga garrison, and everybody's just marching towards the middle. But you never know. You definitely don't want to be losing an obelisk while you're rotating to the middle. So all the structures did get captured in favor of their own respective. So we didn't have any sort of snubs or sneaks in that regard. But yeah, rotating towards middle, BG actually getting there first.
Oh no, there goes obelisk down. BG, they pulled their garrison out. They pulled their garrison out of that obelisk. It was a Belisarius for about 3 seconds, and then the obelisk goes down. 48 seconds until this obelisk is captured for BG. Now they are starting to pour out troops to try and get this obelisk back within 40 seconds from now. It is a Pakal Herald, by the way, and they're sending Cav to do it and an Ethelflaed. I think this may actually capture. It depends on how many troops are left in that rally. Oh my goodness, this could be devastating for 1v before this middle fight starts.
Before the middle fight starts. So we're gonna we definitely got to keep our eyes. Oh, it's starting to go down, but we got 20 seconds. If somebody gets in, these are two big teams. If you get players ported in on your obelisk, it's gonna be an absolute nightmare for the remaining 48 minutes. So 10 seconds coming in. Oh Drago, man.
This is gonna be so close. I gotta zoom in on this and get everybody to view. 2 seconds, 1 second. All right, it's captured. Are they going to port in? Is there any port-ins on that obelisk, or was that just, I'm just going to take it? Oh, there's a port-in. There is a port-in from Jumo. 84 million. Okay, so he's going to reinforce. Okay, reinforced it. Nice. Okay, so reinforced it. That's going to hold a little stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, he might be able to hold a little bit. Yeah, he's going to be doing it, switching. He's going to keep switching back and forth.
Maybe a garrison lead would be, oh, no, there it goes. Okay, so it's down. Why the Guan? Just a quick question. But that being said, we've got the Desert Altar still holding on firm for 1v. However, the Shrine of Life taken with a heavy wave from BG, and now that heavy wave is moving towards the Desert Altar. Who's getting pulled out? That's a Belisarius. Okay. Just making sure that's not a Jadwiga. That could have been devastating. 1v, however, putting some heavy pressure on the Shrine of War here with 2 minutes and 28 seconds until this fight starts. Speaking of the middle fight, look at this. Oh my goodness, BG looks to have the heavy advantage from a player standpoint at the temple. Do you think they're going to push early, or do you think they're going to go ahead and let 1v assemble?
I think we're going to see a little dancing around this center part. We constantly keep seeing it, and it's very fun to watch. But everyone will start rotating clockwise, or we're just kind of dancing around until the last second, where then you see pop skills and everything. And there you go. There answers your question. BG being the aggressors in the middle. Early. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to see. Going back to the obelisk, though, while it is a good play, having an 80 mil player go over there, I promise you, 1v is just going to set a couple of rallies, knock them out, and then clear it. Even Steven, or just
rallies.
Yeah, you're right.
Rallies. Talking about rallies? No. We're not doing that. First off, the middle fight is definitely heating up. 1v deciding to let them commit and go ahead and push in. So we've got BG versus 1v, massive mega fight in the middle right by the temple. It is on the 1v side, which does play to BG's advantage because that gives them a little bit of a back area there. It's completely open. There are some marches, double C marches for 1v, kind of meandering a little bit towards the north of that temple to maybe come in and try and ninja grab that arc. So something to keep in mind with 1 minute until the arc spawns. But as that's happening, and we talked about it before we went to the middle fight, the Shrine of War for BG did go down. However, also the Desert Altar for 1v on the bottom lane going down in favor of BG. Now I see a lot, by the way, a lot of dead marches for BG going home. Oh my goodness. Is this going to be 1v's fight?
1v is very, very strong in middle, but what I am liking on the side of BG is the timing of these structure recaps or neutralizing these structures is phenomenal.
Yeah,
they got on the top side, they got a Burt rally going with a swarm on a Jadwiga garrison. That's gonna definitely flip neutral. On the bottom side, we saw the Desert Altar flip over and now has a CC and garrison, which is about to reflip back over. So you potentially could see all 4 altars flipping over on the side of BG. And right now they have the double the points per minute at 650 to 350.
Wow, so double C garrison on the bottom of Desert Altar, it goes down, by the way. Let's also look at the Jadwiga here. Yes, you're right. All 4 altars are now BG's to claim. Now, 2 minutes until these structures capture, and again, that's because hard push is still active. It's a 10-minute skill, guys. Now, that being said, 1v handily took care of that middle fight. In fact, BG looked to have the numbers pretty significantly. Maybe waited a little too long. I'm not sure. There was a good maybe 10 seconds where another 10, 15 marches from 1V was able to join that murder ball. But 1V walking back uncontested with double C March with the arc there. And I don't see any kind of hard push coming from BG on that lane either. So it looks like they're going to let them have it. Well, when I say let them have it, 1V took it. BG got it taken from them. But I will say having 4 altars and all your main structures and continuing to press onward, having one of your outposts or two outposts of 1Vs as well. The points per minute right now is 570 to 120. I think that's the lowest points per minute I've seen in a finals or a playoff match in quite some time. 450 point per minute advantage. That will help eliminate some of the loss that they're going to take when 1V captures that first 3,000 point arc.
Man, I don't know what it is about this bottom side desert altar. We got an Ethel garrison now. We got a CC before. It's one of those things. They're doing what they need to do. If you lose mid, then you rotate towards structures. You make them. You flip that points per minute. And that is what BG are doing. Their structure game is looking really, really strong. And that's what you're going to need if you're not going to be able to swing the arc in your favor.
Man, 1V is I'm seeing a little bit of a struggle from 1V from a garrison standpoint. I don't know if the player is micromanaging too much on the map or if there's some kind of issue, but I consistently am seeing either a double C or an Ethelfled or a Guan in this desert altar. This is the most critical altar for your team to hold. If you lose this continually, especially with the wrong garrison, there we go, the Jadwiga's back. It's just under so much assault. I will say BG is making it very difficult for 1V. They're constantly assaulting these altars. They're not even waiting for the rally that went in prior to get back to resend. They're double rallying this stuff and double swarming this stuff, so it's making 1V have to be pressured and use non-traditional garrisons until the garrison can be refreshed.
And that's gonna be very interesting to see what 1V decides to do with this arc. Traditionally, the BG is kind of forcing their hand here. The points per minute is still in favor of BG. I haven't seen 1V have 230 points per minute this long in a very long time. So it is going to be very interesting to see. They're triple the points per minute at this point. So they're kind of going to be forcing their hand to probably capture this arc a little bit sooner than what they think. But you are looking at them constantly shuffling these structures back. So what do you think is going to end up happening? Do you think they're going to capture their hold on, or what do you think is the play here for 1V?
I mean, they so handily won the middle with underwhelming numbers. I don't see why 1V would not capture this, but I mean, we can always take a peek and see what's going on. I'm assuming it's at the obelisk over here because it's not showing me. Yeah, here we go. They're just sitting there right now, probably waiting to reset. I would capture it if I was 1V. They're just doing so well in the middle and having a hard time. There goes another Sky Altar down in favor of BG, and the Desert Altar likely will do the same. There's enough there to take it with 1V trying to scramble to get reinforcements over there, probably trying to get another backup garrison as well. That's a half full Desert Altar right now. I personally would capture it, and I wouldn't wait too long either. You may need 3 arcs to win this match with, again, BG being up by almost 2,000 points already and still having a 200 point per minute advantage. I mean, it's your 3,000 point advantage is going to go away here very quickly.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. I was looking at that points per minute as it climbs and climbs and climbs. They are starting to pull back some of their structures, but at the same time, they were just so good in metal. You really don't want to waste any time. I definitely think it's going to take 3 based on this occupation, 3 arcs. So, that's something for us to keep an eye on. We got 10 minutes before it ticks off, and we should see it get captured.
Yeah, 1V is starting to stabilize a little bit. BG was kind of repelled a little bit at the Desert Altar on the bottom lane. I thought they had more than enough to take that Desert Altar away from 1V, but 1V is so strong on the open field, able to repel that push by BG. Rally is down, open field only, and once it was open field versus open field, 1V was able to go ahead and push everybody back. Now, Sky Altar, on the other hand, top lane for BG, which is supposed to be 1V's, looking a little different, and again, it's because of the amount of people that are there. This is a what looks to be an XY Nevsky rally coming in on the Sky Altar from 1V, and BG likely to swarm that down as quickly as they possibly can. A full Xeno garrison, by the way. So something to think about when you're talking about forward structures, right? We're talking about being able to reinforce it as quickly as possible. That usually means cav. You want to usually have, in an ideal world, right? We're talking perfect situation, a Godwiga garrison with, you know, something behind it, whether it's YSS, a Theodora, and again, any of the Saladin would work really well, right? But this is not the case. And again, an ideal world here, you want to have just the fastest ability to reinforce. That usually means cav. So something to think about as we continue on here. Jadwiga garrison on the Shrine of War as well on the bottom lane for BG, holding strong against this, again, XY Nevsky rally here. I'm curious. I'm assuming both of these teams have done some serious testing, Bulba, as far as, you know, is XY Nevsky really the play, or is it Chandra Nevsky, or is it Nevsky Minna, or, you know, any of these, you know, new combinations with the museum buffs that are out now. Is this what we should be expecting going? I mean, I see XY Nevsky everywhere. Should we see some other different combinations to try and get these structures away on an arc match that provides a bonus to skill damage?
I think what I've been noticing is I when we're watching some of the KVKs that are going on right now, that Bert is doing a phenomenal job. I think the difference with Bert is when you start switching him over in XY, in Arc, you really want just something that's just going to absolutely smash. It's either going to get smashed or it's going to smash. And Bert just isn't that. So that's why you're going to see traditionally a lot more XYs, in my opinion, just because of the amount of damage he's going to put out. And especially with Nevsky, the only thing with that combo is it's very susceptible to getting swarmed, especially because everything gets swarmed in Arc. But we were seeing a lot of reinforcing combos, which are very interesting. I saw a Belisarius, I saw a Minna Matilda combo, you know, and that has more to do with the speed of just getting across the map, because there's no intention of them to open field. Those are just combos just to reinforce. But the idea that you are seeing a Belisarius, you know, just to march across just for speed to reinforce is going to be very interesting. And I'm still watching that arc to see if it gets captured, and it has not.
I mean, they're just there we go. As soon as you said that, he moved. But still not capturing. So we have 7 minutes, 20 seconds until that arc respawns. Obviously, I think that movement is going to dictate that they're likely ready to capture here pretty soon. Maybe making it a 2-arc game. I'm not quite sure. But all buildings currently are owned by their supposed-to-be owners. That being said, there is still a 70 point per minute benefit for BG, waiting for some of those buildings on the 1v side to actually start ticking points. They're still capturing them. That being said, we have a 2,500 point match right now in favor of BG, but 3,000 points in the pocket for 1v. So, he's moving again. He's making some moves going towards the obelisk. He said, you guys can't have this in your city. Only the obelisk can have it. So, looks like 1v really trying to secure their desert altar area here, possibly just trying to get set up for a nice push once they deter, or likely to deter, this BG push coming in on their desert altar. Push with maybe capturing the arc as well there. In fact, there it goes. There's the arc captured at the top obelisk for 1v. That resets the timer. Got 8 minutes until we get ourselves another arc fight in the middle. Oh my goodness, with such a dominating performance in the middle from 1v, Bulba. What can BG do? I mean, can BG turn that around? I mean, there's obviously alliance skills to be used, but both teams really just used some pretty subpar skills. I didn't see To the Death being used from BG or anything like that, or Heaven's Grace or anything. So I think it was just traditional, you know, war drums and mystical formation. So with that being said, do we see, you know, BG being able to take a middle fight against this really strong open field 1v team?
Well, I just saw, we were watching on yours, and we were both watching the same thing, and that answered your question about Bert. Bert, they sent a rally on that desert altar and got absolutely wrecked, getting swarmed, and didn't really, you know, he got the Jadwiga down about halfway. But, you know, and that's the thing. BG's presence on the field right now is really good. I think rotating into the next rotation, what Bert really did do is when they swarmed him, it took their marches down to yellow and red marches, which is going to make for a very awkward timing when they got to rotate middle. So that definitely will affect OneV's rotation time. You should see a lot on this bottom side getting melted. And we got a little Nevsky garrison. Nope, Jadwiga. Nevsky's just covering it. So the rotation is going to be huge for this one. I definitely suspect we're going to see bigger skills getting used this rotation. If you're on the side of BG, you don't have to over-invest in middle, but you definitely want to try to steal one of these arcs in middle for sure.
You know, while all that was happening, right, 4 altars right now in favor of 1V, and they've been consistently flipping them back and forth. They've turned the tables from a points per minute perspective. Now 1V has the advantage, about 270. In fact, it is 270 points per minute in favor of 1V now. So big flip, capturing the arc and getting the points per minute game going your way. Desert Altar flipping back blue for just a moment at least. While BG is just saying, deuces, I'm going to leave a Nebu garrison in that Desert Altar on the top lane and go to the middle. They are heavily going towards the middle. They are committing big time, Bulba. They think they can go ahead and take that arc on the next match away from 1V. Sky Altar on the bottom lane, still red, still owned by 1V. BG looking to maybe do a little bit of a rally. I'm not sure. Everybody I see that has a blue color on their marches is going to the middle. Obelisk alert.
Mm-hmm.
Top
And
lane.
the one thing that I am seeing is because 1V isn't using hard push, a lot of these structures that are flipping aren't going to be ticking any points for them. So that, while it does help with neutralizing the points per minute game, I'm watching the Desert Altars flip because they had a minute 45 before capture, getting swarmed down in rotation. So, that's where hard push really, really comes in. I did see on the top side obelisk that 1V was trying to melt off their marches in order to rotate.
Yep.
In order to start rotating those towards mid. But there it is. BG pulling an obelisk on the top side right now. Got a Nevsky. We're watching it on your screen with getting swarmed right now.
Yep. A lot of those marches that were in that rally that took the obelisk peeled off, and I think they're starting. Yep, there we go. They're starting to harass the outposts of 1V as this mid fight starts to heat up. Speaking of a mid fight heating up, my goodness, BG is positioning very far forward. They are maybe wanting to take it even quicker of a fight this time, pouring into the middle. They definitely had the advantage from a time standpoint, getting to the middle. 1V a little bit behind what BG was doing, but not necessarily behind in general, as they are starting to amass a heavy force here in the middle. 1V having all their buildings, BG has all their buildings, but ticking points, however, is a different animal. 280 point per minute favorite for 1V. Now, that kind of, to me, leads me to believe that BG, and they are pushing, by the way, they need this arc to kind of get back and keep the game close. BG pushing 1V backing up, saying, we're not ready, don't do it, we're not ready. And starting to kind of get consolidated too. This is a little bit of a flustery moment for 1V. However, I think they are spreading out on purpose to try and make BG pick which direction that they want to go, and then enveloping them as they come in from both sides. Pincer maneuver is what those like to be called. But BG is heavily forward here. One march. Little XY William, it looks like. Yep. Why is there... and a Nebu. There's a Nebu literally in the middle of it. Nebu YSG in the middle of that march as well. I was like, why is Nebu with XY? But no, that's not the case. 2 different marches there. BG holding the front here, though. Is anything going to come from the back, possibly, for 1V? I don't see anything. This is going to be an epic fight.
Yeah, and I was trying to pay attention to see 1V is heavily invested in this. I saw them just dumping troops. It is a barren wasteland on the outside lanes right now. They're investing everybody in here as you're starting to watch 1V try to wiggle them out a little bit. I do like the idea that BG is just sticking to their guns and not spreading out. But you are seeing 1V. They may make an attempt just to run alongside this murder ball just to get to middle. And that's the only downside of pushing this far up as far as BGR, because you have the idea that 1V might just completely run around you before they even engage in the fighting. And that gives up your advantage of coming in super early.
Yeah, and I will say also from a reinforcement standpoint, BG is going to be at the disadvantage reinforcement-wise. It's going to be a longer way for BG to reinforce, and that's something that, again, giving up that benefit of being able to pick and choose where you want to have the fights happen at, being this far forward. I think conversely, you look at a team like Song or JST, they like to be closer to their area from a reinforcement standpoint. Here we go, by the way. Mystical formation being used on what looks like both sides. Yeah, it looks like both sides. War Drum being used by BG as well. War Drum being used by 1V as well. Heaven's Grace being used by BG. Let's see if there's to the death. Heaven's Grace. Counter Heaven's Grace. And BG starting to lose troops already here.
Yeah. And this is the one thing that I was I definitely wanted to bring up. The combinations that BG brought to middle, I would say based on what I saw, 1Vs were far superior. They had way more Guans, they had way more XYs. Their mid composition was phenomenal on the side of 1V. I saw a lot more Hondas and just varying combos for the side of BG that just tend not to hold up very well against those super oh my goodness, sad faces coming through on the side of BG. You know, and that's the thing that you got to take into account once you get this deep into the tournament. The compositions that you bring to mid, to structures, to all that become very important.
Yeah, I mean, you have what you have, right? I mean, this is what they're bringing to the mid. I agree with you. I mean, I see a lot of Charles out there. I see Saladin primaries. I see, I see some Hondas out there as well. But 1V absolutely wrecking the fight. I don't see many archers in the middle for BG at all. You know, maybe they're hidden behind cav marches or hidden behind the Guans or whatever. But there's not many of those either. Guans are looking relatively, relatively sparse for BG. And again, just hordes and hordes of BG going back in the middle. This is definitely an overwhelming mid team from 1V having exactly the right combination. I mean, Nebus everywhere. Look at how many Nebus they've got. All these archers in the middle. They're taking longer to get to the middle, but once they get there, oh my goodness, they are absolutely wrecking any mid team that comes to it. And this is a little bit of a setback for BG. They're going to go ahead and try to take back their Shrine of War with Julius Caesar Garrison, but that's been on the red color for quite some time. 50 point per minute favorite for 1V right now. 1V taking that arc, ready to rock and roll going forward. BG conversely switching to the structure game, pushing hard on the Desert Altar bottom lane. But again, I don't know if this is maybe too little too late. There's 2 rallies from 1V and 3 rallies coming and marching or mobilizing currently for BG. So we've got 2 outposts that are currently for BG, and I think that's really their saving grace to have this not be a complete 100 to 200 point favorite for 1V points per minute wise and getting the arc. Oh my, so this is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for BG. It's certainly not over. It's only a 2,000 point match right now with a 3,500 point arc. That's easily switchable with a provision score, a decent provision score, and or an arc coming from the middle as well. But do you expect BG, after those 2 fights, seeing how those fights went, do you expect BG to be able to win a middle fight?
You know what? If you're BG, I like that they're putting up a good fight in the middle, right? I firmly do believe that when you want to win a match, you got to win 2 of the 3 phases of the game. There's occupation, there's arc, and then there's provisions. I think if they can do what they were doing on occupation and then bring in some really solid provisions, the fact that 1V most likely isn't going to be running for 4 arcs actually helps you in that regard. So try to keep this occupation pretty lopsided. But as we saw, from the difference between the first rotation and the second was now BG aren't playing with all the altars in their favor. Yeah. So you are starting, it's going to make a big difference point wise. Right now they're down by a little less than 2,000 points. They really are going to have to start making it up in occupation and then start to reel it in the last seconds with those provisions.
That's exactly right. So BG really had the advantage when it came to positioning because on the first arc, because they had forward buildings. They were taking 1V and taking their points per minute and really kind of making up that first arc 3,000 points wise. It was relatively an even match going into the second arc, but second arc absolutely devastating for BG because not only did they not have their altars, they didn't have their opponent's altars, but they were also losing consistently to Shrine of War. This may, in fact, it's 5 attack, 5 defense. It's nothing crazy, But it is something to mention, when we're talking about going to the middle, that's the second time that they lost the Shrine of War right before going to the middle, and that could be something that's helping 1V a little bit besides all the extras, right? And they are losing their Desert Altar and Sky Altar. BG has them both. This might be a little late, but it's still good, right? Conversely, 1V taking all the outposts on the BG side as well, something to keep in mind. But BG has 2 out of the 3, so on the other side. So maybe they're just going to flip sides. Maybe they'll start teleporting on each other's side. Who knows? But yeah.
Literally, as I spoke and was talking about the altars, now we're looking at a map that has all 4 altars on the side of BG. We're just waiting for them to tick over with a little over a minute on a couple of those. So, it's one of those. I think BG's occupation is very, very strong. It's just going to be a matter of, what kind of provisions are we looking at? And I think that's where they're going to have to start reeling it in. This arc is worth 3,500 points. So they do have a little bit of a cushion on the side of 1V, which you really, you're going to welcome that any day. And I see your screen right now getting targeted right now. Everybody's running forward.
Yep, everybody's running forward to grab that. Everybody's pushing down as well towards that Shrine of War as well. BG starting to focus on the structure game, which I think that, to be honest with you, if we're talking about how does BG win, right? They need to they need to really focus the structure game. I would use all your points on structures and provisioning. They just can't win the mid fight. And again, it's nothing against them. It's just, I talked about it at the beginning of this matchup. Who has VIP 18? Who has the right gear? Who has the right commanders? And right now, 1V has all 3 of those boxes, I think, checked. On top of that, they're taking your Shrine of War right before you go to the middle. So you're down stats, you're down commanders, you're down stats again because of the equipment, and you're down stats again because you might not have VIP 8. So this is a struggle that BG is going to consistently have and has had multiple seasons. They're just overperforming for what their account should dictate that they can do. Their strategy is really strong. Obviously, their structure game is very solid. If they could just get what some of their opposing teams have, like if they could get to the grand finals, right, where everything's equal and everybody has the right commanders and there's no equipment and all that stuff, right, I think they could win it. I mean, they have a really strong play here. They've got strong plays all over the place. They just seem to be at a disadvantage every single step of the way from a stats and a commander strategy standpoint. So I think that BG needs to really continue to focus on these structures. The arc is down, by the way, and maybe they'll just leave it and have somebody else grab it for 1V to reset the timer, and now it'll be 14 and a half minutes again with 21 minutes and 44 seconds left in the match. That may be the last arc that we see.
Yeah, and I've always agreed with the VIP and the equipment and all that. But I will say the fact that if there are playing down with less gear, less whatever it is, the fact that we're only down by 1,000 points to a team that a lot of people regarded as this season's uncrowned champion as we speak, just tells you just kind of what it comes down to. We're nitpicking because at this point we have nothing but phenomenal teams left. It comes down to March composition, like the smallest minute details is what it comes down to. Timing, rotating in, what composition of marches to counter your opponent. And BG are doing a phenomenal job. They have lost 2 arcs, but they're, oh my goodness, they are reeling it in. They are now only down by 200 points. That arc is still in the pocket for 1V, 3,500 points, but that can quickly go away depending on, and as we say again, the altar is flipping again. Almost all red, 3 out of 4 going in favor of 1V.
Yep, that Jawiga is holding very, very strong on the bottom lane. Sky Altar there against BG. 1V having that structure and looking to tick some points. Maybe they did use hard push, or maybe they did take it 2.5 minutes ago. 46 seconds until that starts ticking points for 1V. Speaking of 1V, 200, almost 200, 180 points per minute in favor of 1V right now and holding an arc. That's a very good position to be in. However, they are now down by 300 points against BG. I don't know if some provisions maybe came back early or something like that. I don't know how they made up 2,000 points with the structures that they were owning, BG. So that's interesting to see those points come from seemingly out of nowhere. But I think what they were trying to do as well with that little push on the top side, trying to take down that arc carrier, if they delay the arc carrier from capturing, that will basically eliminate the mid fight altogether. And again, that would be a favor for BG. BG not having to go to the middle and really being able to focus on structures and not have to worry about going to the middle and getting absolutely creamed. That could be a favor to BG. So dropping that and getting it picked up by a different player on the 1v side, assuming that they should probably capture this relatively soon here with 19 minutes left. That would give them an 8-minute timer. I'd say within 5 minutes or so they should capture this so they can get one more arc out. That would be a good thing for 1v. If they don't capture it within the next 5 minutes, just to summarize the rambling I just did, it would be a favor to BG.
Yeah, and what's very interesting is that we ought to remember 1v didn't pop to the death last rotation. So
Yep.
if we thought they were strong before that, just wait.
Oh dear God.
Once we start adding that in the mix. So, if you're BG, we've already seen Heaven's Grace get popped. It's just going to be your ability and how well you counter strat against that. And I'm going to definitely keep my eyes on C, which if they do switch up their March composition, because we did see some very unique combinations last time. So I'm very interested to keep my eyes on that part. But
trying to theory craft, right? Like, what can BG do? I'm thinking like I'm on the BG team. Like, what could we possibly do to win this next arc? Assuming that they're going to capture it within the next 5 minutes. Because again, if I'm 1v, I'm going to capture it within the next few minutes, so I can have one more arc to polish this match off. That would be my play. From a strategy standpoint. Now, if I'm BG, how do I take advantage of that? Well, does BG have a card or a trick up their sleeve? Maybe a sneaky tactics in their repertoire, something to ninja this arc away from 1v, because they can't brute force it. They just tried to twice, and they got absolutely murdered in the middle twice by 1v. So does BG have maybe something extra in their alliance skill repertoire where they can maybe make a little bit of a sneaky play and try and capture this next arc, assuming 1v decides to get this arc captured within the next few minutes here?
And I was trying to theory craft alongside when you started getting the old gears turning. So right now that second arc's gonna be worth 3,500. So put them up by about 4,000 points.
Yep.
The last arc's worth 4,000. So then you're looking at being down by about 7 to 8K, with that being the final arc. Can you reel it in? It's one of those plays that you got to make a decision. If they overinvest in middle and then all the structures stay in their respective hands, it only plays in favor of 1v. The structure game could be huge if you time it correctly and get all the altars and just to make that final push. I'm not sure if BG are gonna. I think 1v just might have their number in the middle, and that might come to bite me in the butt if
1v has everybody's number in the middle. Come on.
if BG pull this last arc, they're gonna make me eat crow. But it's very exciting. It's gonna come down to this last arc. It won't necessarily seal the deal, but it is gonna make it a very uphill battle for BG to take this if they do lose this last arc.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Desert Altar on the bottom lane again. 1v holding fairly firm against what looks like a solid swarm from BG. BG using a rally and swarm methodology, which is what the standard is for any proper advancement trying to take a structure. And I mean, they're heavy swarming this structure, and this Jadwiga is just holding so strong. I see I see good marches from BG. We've got Ethelfleds, we've got Saladins, we've got Guans, we've got Nevskis, we've got XYs. I mean, they have some good stuff here, but that Jadwiga is just holding so strong, and 1v doing a great job of reinforcing on the back end here, doing just enough to reinforce. I gotta believe that Jadwiga has just an insane set of equipment on her to really make her strong. And again, we just saw it again, right? Shrine of War for BG going down in favor of 1v. That usually means, yep, here we go. Here's the arc moving. Now, interesting. So arc was moving towards the obelisk to go ahead and capture the arc, and that obelisk is now blue. Somebody came in and ninja'd it, and Jumo's coming in to try and grab this too. This could be a disaster. This could be a disaster for 1v. He is running. He is booking it. He's like, bye. I'll see you guys
Bye.
later. I'm not going anywhere near this, but there
bro.
is a double C Garrison Bulba. Oh,
Look.
could you imagine?
He was dancing for his dear life. He was like, oh, he was just gonna dance around the city if he had to. And you see those marches running out as the CC gets sworn. But man,
that could have been
I
a
could
disaster.
imagine the comms. I could imagine the comms right now. Run. He probably, because that was probably one march of his 5 marches, and he's playing on the field with all the others. And, oh man, those comms would have been absolutely nutty. But three altars in favor of OneV right now. It's these Jadwigas are just holding up phenomenally right now. Yeah, they're way too strong right now.
So strong. I mean, that was such a heavy push by BG, and they're pushing again, by the way, against the Shrine of War down here at the bottom. They will take it, by the way. That rally's looking very strong against that Xeno. There is people coming in from the obelisk area to try and reinforce. In fact, they may actually keep it. But that little push by BG to get the obelisk and give 1V a little bit of a heart attack, it seemed, was fun to watch at least. I think 1V may in fact hold this area down, and again, 1V not only holding the arc, but I mean the whole map is starting to turn red ball. But this is not looking good for BG at all. I think it's starting to kind of crumble a little bit with oh my goodness, what, 13 minutes left in the match, 6 minutes 40 seconds until this arc respawns. I guess they're holding it. They're not going to go ahead and grab it.
Yeah, well, all these altars, I keep watching the altars because we all know that they're the highest scoring structure in here. That's where the money's made, and currently 3 are now ticking in favor of 1V. The last one just being holding 13 seconds before that one ticks over for BG, no. And they just captured the arc. They're up by 7,000 points. So if you're BG, now's the time where the money is made. What are you going to do? Are you rotating in middle, attempting to win this arc? Are you focusing structures? All right. We're going to find out, folks. We're going to find out.
With 12 minutes and 20 seconds left in the match, 7 minutes and 30 seconds until the arc spawns, there obviously will be one more arc. And being down 6,500, almost 7,000 points. Actually, yeah, about 6,800 points. EG needs an arc. I mean, that's a lot of provisioning to over provision your opponent with, and again with the structures being so back and forth, and 1V really starting to take some serious structures. BG getting it back, but I mean this is delaying their push. BG obviously wanting to take structures right now and try and get the points per minute game in their favor, and alternatively 1V is just sitting here with their their meme level Jadwiga just sitting here holding firm in these desert altars. Shrine of War still in favor of 1V, and BG walking right past. They need to get to the middle. They know it's 6 minutes 46 seconds. I mean, is this the play this early to come to the middle? It's 6 minutes 40 seconds until this arc spawns. I know they need it. They know they need it. But their structures are going down. I mean, it might not matter if you're going to continue to lose your structures. Okay, so now we're up to 250 points per minute in favor of 1V right now, points per minute wise. And again, just owning the middle at will. I don't know if this is going to be enough. Let's check some provisioning too while I'm talking to myself.
Yeah. And see, and I'm not a huge fan. If you're playing without the lead, I'm not a huge fan of coming in the middle that far in advance. And if you are, then these AFK troops should be parking in these provision tiles at least while you're sitting there for 7 minutes. And that's where I'm zooming out on the side of BG. There are 3 tiles right here that are super close to each other where nobody is in them. And ideally that's what you kind of want. You don't want to AFK for zero purpose. You want to have a little bit. As I was watching last rotation, look at this desert altar on the bottom side. Look at the provision tiles. Look at what 1V is doing. They filled all of them up in the middle of the field. They're sitting in there prior to rotating towards middle. Instead of early rotating and being AFK, they're sitting in all these nodes right by the bottom side desert altar. Like they filled all of them up. And that's kind of what I want to see on the side of BG. Instead of AFKing there, filling up all these nodes, because they are going to need to make up this points per minute as well as the points in general, being down by about 8,000 points. So
I mean, I'm just looking at the map and looking at what's going on as you were talking there, Bulb, and I did highlight what you were talking about regarding just filling up every node with hitting everything you can, right? I mean, just like there's marches here, like this caravan could be filled. This caravan could be filled. There's not going to be a fight for a couple minutes.
Yep.
And I mean, as soon as BG came in, 1V is already there. And again, it's because they're fighting on their side. They can get to where they need to be quicker from their obelisk areas. Now, we've got a Shrine of Life going down in favor of BG, which is good. But Sky Altar under heavy assault on the same lane by 1V, and that Jadwiga they've got there isn't nearly as strong as that Desert Altar Jadwiga that 1V has. So, I mean, that looks like it may actually go. In fact, it's definitely going to go down. That's going to go red here very shortly. There it goes. So now 3 altars are in favor of 1V, and the top one that's being assaulted by a Bertrand rally is also going to stay 1v2. I mean, this is exactly what BG doesn't want. I mean, they're down 7,500 points now. I will say also, it looks like 1V is provisioning better than BG. I mean, there's just not as many caravans on the 1V side because they've been mining them out. Versus BG, there's a lot of unused caravans. There's only a couple people mining. This could be it could end up being a huge blowout from a point standpoint for 1V at the end, but this match has been really strong and solid throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now, and BG's compositions are very similar to the previous one. I will say there are a few more XYs than the last rotation, but once again, little to no archers
War drums
on the
by
side of
BG
BG.
already. They're
Oh
pushing.
my goodness. You're going to see this retreat,
Oh,
and then they're going to
no.
reapproach. They're going to reapproach right now. Yeah, they popped way too early.
Oh,
Look at the scatter, especially with 3 minutes left. They could completely retreat and then reapproach.
I mean, at least they could see y'all running from us. Which,
Yeah, the memes for the Facebook.
why are you running from us? and then they turn around and go smush.
Yeah, and now here
we
comes
go.
the reversal. How the turntables have turned.
That's right. That's right. To the death by
Oh.
BG. To the death by 1V. I mean, I could have just written this down and put it up on camera and have to watch it. You know exactly what's coming. So both sides having to the death being, I mean, you can see BG just absolutely going after it, trying their best. I mean, they're pouring everything. They've got people coming in from behind, the harassers for the outpost coming in from behind. But on the, speaking of behind, everything's turning red. Everything's turning red while this mid fight is going. You got 2 minutes left until this mid fight really has a meaning, which is when that arc spawns in just over 2 minutes. 6 minutes 44 seconds until the arc match is over, which means BG really needs to just grab it and run with it. You have a little bit of time, maybe about a minute and a half wiggle room. But again, it's not really going to matter. It's a 7,000 point game, almost 8.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now, and all the structures with buffs are all in favor of 1V. BG are marching more and more marches. The one thing that is good about this is because they went so deep into 1V for the fight, it may open up the opportunity for them to possibly grab the arc initially and then just try to book it. You should see 1V progressively starting to move towards the middle as we say that. And yeah, it is red everywhere.
The Red Sea of Death. Coming up towards the arc, 1 minute left. It's like, I guess we should probably head towards the arc, right?
Yeah.
Someone wants to grab that, go right ahead. As the BG marches continue to ping off the side of every 1V march. So, I mean, what a good match. I mean, this has been a great match. 1V showing absolute dominance in the middle and doing enough in the structure game. I mean, BG looked very, very strong in the structure game. And I thought, we've seen matches like this in the past where Song, last week, took the structure game and made it their victory cry alongside of Provisions at the end and, pulled victory from the jaws of defeat. BG was kind of having that same feeling, that same, method of possibly winning, but 1V just so dominant in the middle. They've not had to wait on a single arc. They've cleared the middle by the time the arc is ready to spawn. There's just nothing there. I mean, BG has a couple marches in the middle floating around trying to delay and things like that, but with it being basically a 8,500 point match right now, there's no amount of provisions that are going to fix this. And from a points per minute perspective, it's 760 for 1V versus only 310 for BG. They've just lost all the structures on the back end of this. I mean, obviously BG has done a fantastic job, but this mid fight by 1V has just been so overwhelmingly devastating that it's really set the tone for what this match was.
Yeah, and as we're looking in middle, I'm just paying attention to the kind of compositions and combos that we're seeing on the side of 1V compared to BG. We're seeing XYs, Guans, Nebu, like you're seeing and it's not just a couple. It's like every single player that rotated middle send the same combo, and then we sprinkle in a couple of Ethels and a couple of, here and there, but it is a very intimidating combination. And then on the side of BG, you started seeing it seemed a little less organized in regards to what they were sending. And you really noticed that when the skills got popped and to the death, they both got used, and just way more sad faces coming on the side of BG. So I think that's definitely something, but I am keeping my eyes on this arc, and BG are dumping in the troops. That running charge skill coming out in handy, because now they are starting to crush, and you are going to see this arc get stuck in this really awkward corner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, BG's just sending everybody. They know what this match is now. They're really just sending everybody. They've lost their obelisk on the bottom lane here. Well, at least for right now, anyway. Jadwiga Garrison, by the way, which is not bad, but it will go down. There's just not enough troops there. Shrine of War in favor of 1V. Sky Altar in favor of 1V. All 4 altars in favor of 1V. I mean, this is obviously just let's have a fun last 3 minutes from BG, and let's just not let them capture this arc and make it a 40,000 point game for 1V. Let's just keep everything back. I will say, provisions wise, I'm expecting to see maybe 2,000, maybe 2,500 more come in for BG, but I actually think there's going to be more coming in for 1V. I've seen so many caravans going out, and like you said, even the marchers that are in the middle fighting right now have some provisions to bring back.
Yeah. And I believe it or not, I actually think that 1V is going to out provision them by probably like 1 to 2K, just because of little things like that. Like your non-provision players are provisioning while they're not fighting, and that only adds on.
Adds up. Yep.
It all adds up, and there you go. Insatiable desire coming from 1V. That's that's a little handy to have in your pocket, but I just think the optimization from 1V of provisioning when they're not fighting, or if they're in middle, they're on all the nodes that aren't in middle. They're on the outside lanes before they rotate in. And it's just little things like that that really shore up a very solid game plan on the side of 1V.
Yep, 1V doing a fantastic job showing how to win mid and also take strike. 1V's got a different game. You see JST, you see Song, you see other types of alliances inside of the Osiris League playoffs, and you can kind of tell what they are, right? Like or OV even, to a certain extent, like they are a mid-game alliance is OV. Song is more of a structure and provisions game with maybe grabbing one arc if they can. JST is again that same kind of playbook where it's about the structures, it's about the points per minute, it's about heavy provisioning, it's about taking 1 or 2 arcs in the middle. 1V is a little different. They are absolutely dominating in the middle. I mean, just dominating in the middle from an open field standpoint. But they also have a really solid structure game. I mean, they don't have to necessarily blow out the structure game like what Song does, but they do enough in the middle to basically take as many points as they please. They get enough from a structure game standpoint to break even or have maybe an extra 2,000 or 3,000 points. And then provisions wise, like you said, I think they're going to win by maybe 2K provisions points. Let's just win all 3. Let's just win all 3 phases of the game, right? That's kind of what 1V's motto is. So great job to 1V, and I mean their strategy is very strong. It's hard to, and they did capture that arc. BG just doing everything they could to prevent that. 8 seconds left, Bulba. Oh, it's been a pleasure doing this with you, buddy. Wow, what a great match. Shout out in chat for 1V taking the victory here. 14,000 point victory against the BG, and golf clap for BG. I mean, they did a great job. It's just they were going up against a powerhouse juggernaut of a team in 1V.
Ooh.
BG taking the most valuable player at least. 210,000 points for the individual score there. However, let's take a look at the sum. Oh my goodness.
Oof.
So, walk me through this, Paul. So I want to have you break this down for me. I mean, can't say BG didn't want it, right?
They what do we always say? You got to shoot your shot. So
They did.
BG coming out, tell of the tape. BG 29K to 43.8K for 1V. We had 3 arcs, all 3 going in favor of 1V for 10.5K. Occupation, oh man, looking super strong on the side of 1V. In a 5K lead on that front. And provisions, I was wrong.
Surprised.
Yeah. BG coming on top by that by 500 points in their favor. Total kills 70 to 91 million. Flip flop for severely wounded, and the units healed. You can't say that they didn't shoot their shot. 32 million troops healed to 4 million on the side of 1V. Teleports 3130, and then of course 3 arcs to 0.
Okay, so I mean that's a lot of information, and obviously some very big numbers that we just went over. So other things to think about, as we're continuing into these playoffs, going into the finals. By the way, first final slot in Realm of Horus secured by 1V. Things to think about in the back end of this, right? So who's in KVK? We're talking about units healed; those are healing speed ups. We're talking about the need to do units healed, I think, is the other big thing. This kind of goes into our storyline that we were talking about earlier regarding 1V just having a stronger team overall with the VIP, with the all the different facets of the game. You don't tend to need to heal as much whenever you just have everything you need, right? So BG, on the other hand, that's probably the highest it's healed I've seen. Usually it's 20 million for really, 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 really high. Now we're talking almost 33 million units healed for BG. Very, very strong there. Now I do want to jump in.
Yeah, upset
yes,
alert.
I've been reading. So let's go take a peek at some of the scores here. So again, we just watched this match. 29,000 for BG versus 43,800 for 1V. Huge victory for 1V, securing their finals destination. Realm of Anubis. 60MX taking out B56. Do you think that had anything to do with the massive Imperium free-for-all KVK that they're fighting right now?
I don't think so. I think that they were a very, very good team coming through this season. This is the furthest that a 1556 team has made it into the Osiris League, so they earn their right to play this. We've always been going on and on about 60GT, and 60MX have snuck their way into the conversation of being one of the strongest teams in the Osiris League this season. And the fact that they lost by 6K really speaks volumes about how well V56 did this season. So I'm not surprised, but I am impressed by V56 and the amount of fight they put up.
Yeah, no, that I would have loved to have seen that match as well. Wib trying to stop this from being a full 960 Kingdom finals match in the Realm of Anubis at 15 UTC in just under an hour. Realm of Bastet 06HS taking out the prior champions 94VN. 94VN lost a match earlier in this playoff match, and were kind of said to be a little bit exposed during that match. 06HS looks like they found that same exposure, taking out basically the favorite of the Realm of Bastet, 94VN. So that's another champion down. Finals match coming up next week, starting 1 of 3. 06HS will be facing the winner of the 15 UTC match, RD2K versus Raze. And then finally, Realm of Sobek. Wow, another close match. 61HX defeating NRGP, but very close match. Very close match, considering it's a 3.5 billion alliance versus a 2.8 billion alliance in the newest realm available inside of the playoff system. Wow, so some really good stuff here. So let's go to the schedule really quick. We have 1V. It says waiting, but 1V is, in fact, going to the middle there, taking the victory against BG. I'm going to jump to the caster cam, so Bubble will have his chance to say goodbye to
Mm.
everybody. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, guys. I've had a blast as always. I will be back in an hour to co-host, co-cast with Chiscool. Bulba, take us out, man. I'm gonna let you get us out of here. And it's been a blast. This was a great match to watch.
I appreciate it, my friend. It's always fun. And all y'all, thank y'all for all the love in the stream, in the chat, for everyone who put their vote on the poll. Definitely come back 15 UTC. Drago Chisco are going to be co-hosting the Song JST match, which if we were excited for this one, I can definitely tell you Chisco and Drago are going to be hollering from the rooftop. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, before y'all head out, our links for our channels are in the description below. Make sure you smash that thumbs up. And I hope y'all enjoy the rest of the day. There's phenomenal matches going to be coming out from all 4 realms. So I hope y'all are as excited as we are. But until the next time, rockers, we'll see